You've been praying for so long, haven't you? Making dua after dua, hoping, crying, waiting, but all you hear is silence. No sign, no answer, nothing. And deep down you start wondering, did Allah forget me? But what if I told you that His silence isn't absence? What if it's His way of speaking to you, just in a language your heart hasn't learned yet? There comes a point in every believer's life where the heart starts to ache, not because of loss, but because of the silence. You raise your hands again and again, whispering the same dua you've been making for months, maybe years. You feel that lump in your throat when you say Ameen, and yet nothing seems to change. The situation stays the same. The pain still hurts. The doors remain closed. You begin to question, is Allah listening? Did I do something wrong? But maybe the silence isn't what you think it is. Maybe it's not rejection, but redirection. Maybe it's not delay, but protection. Maybe Allah's silence is actually the most merciful response, the one you can't see because you're still focused on what you want, not what you need. Because Allah doesn't respond the way people do. He doesn't always send signs through words. Sometimes He sends them through waiting. The silence you hate might be the sound of something beautiful being written for you, something you're not ready for yet. Because if you got everything you asked for right away, you'd never learn patience. You'd never understand trust. You'd never feel the sweetness of surrender. And maybe that's exactly what Allah wants you to experience. Not an instant answer, but a deeper connection. Think about it. We live in a world obsessed with speed. Fast food, fast results, fast answers. We want everything now. But Allah's timing is not Amazon Prime. His silence is not neglect. It's a part of His divine design. Because sometimes the answer is, sometimes it's a not yet. Sometimes it's I'm preparing you. Sometimes it's I'm protecting you from what you can't see. You see, silence is not empty. It's full of hidden wisdom. When you're left waiting, Allah is watching. When you feel unheard, He's testing the sincerity behind your dua. Because if you only worship when He gives and not when He withholds, then you've misunderstood who you're worshiping. True faith is built not when you get what you want, but when you stay patient even when you don't. And the truth is, Allah's silence speaks volumes. It tells you that He trusts your faith enough to let you grow through the waiting. That He knows your heart needs to be polished before the gift arrives. Because silence is not the absence of communication, it's the presence of trust. Sometimes Allah stays silent not to test your patience, but to build it. To teach you what real faith feels like when you strip away everything else, the quick results, the comfort, the constant reassurance. Because real faith isn't proven when your dua is answered instantly. It's proven in the nights you whisper Ameen through tears and still wake up the next day believing that Allah heard you. It's proven in the moments when your heart wants to give up, but your soul says, keep going. He's still there. That's faith. The kind that doesn't rely on proof, but on trust. You see, we've become so used to instant responses from people, from the world, from everything around us, that when Allah is silent, we panic. We think something's wrong, but that silence is where true faith is forged. It's like a seed buried deep in the soil. You can't see it, you can't hear it grow, but that doesn't mean nothing's happening. In fact, that's where the real transformation is taking place. Beneath the surface, quietly, unseen. Allah's silence works the same way. It's in that stillness that He's teaching your heart how to depend on Him without seeing results. Think about it. Anyone can believe when things are easy. Anyone can say Alhamdulillah when the dua gets answered within hours. But the real believer is the one who keeps saying Alhamdulillah even when the world stays quiet. That's the kind of heart Allah loves. The one that trusts the unseen, that doesn't need signs to stay sincere. Because faith that only exists when things go your way isn't faith, it's convenience. And Allah doesn't want convenience, He wants conviction. There are times when Allah hides your answers just to show you what's hiding inside you. The strength, the patience, the trust you didn't know you had. Every unanswered dua is a mirror showing you how deep your belief really goes. Do you worship Allah because of what He gives or because of who He is? Because if your faith fades in silence, then it was never faith in Allah, it was faith in His favors. Look back at your life. There were moments when you thought you'd never make it through, when you cried, begged, and still nothing seemed to change. But somehow you survived. Somehow you grew. And if you're honest, those silent seasons were the ones that made you closest to Allah. You learned to talk to Him, not just for answers, but for peace. You learned that dua isn't just a request, it's a form of love. A believer doesn't pray because they always get what they want. They pray because they know Allah is worth talking to, even in silence. So when you don't hear anything back, don't think Allah forgot you. He's just teaching you to hold on, to believe without conditions, because faith isn't proven in answered prayers. It's proven in continued sujud after the unanswered ones. It's proven in those quiet nights when you still say, "Ya Allah," even when nothing has changed. That's the faith that makes angels marvel. That's the faith that brings you closer to Him than 1,000 answered prayers ever could. So maybe Allah's silence isn't the absence of His mercy. Maybe it's the evidence of His trust in you. He knows your heart can handle this test. He knows that your patience will bloom into something beautiful. He knows that this silence will one day become your story. The story of how you kept believing when there was no reason to, except one. That Allah never truly leaves those who still whisper His name in the dark. There are times when Allah's silence isn't just a test, it's protection. Because what if the thing you're begging for, crying for, losing sleep over, is something that would have destroyed you if He gave it to you right now? What if His silence isn't rejection, but redirection? What if He's not saying a no, He's saying a not yet? We often think silence means absence, but sometimes it's mercy in disguise. Allah knows the full story, the future you can't see, the consequences you can't predict, the heartbreaks you're being shielded from without even realizing it. And while you're asking, why isn't Allah answering me? Maybe He's whispering, if only you knew what I'm saving you from. Sometimes Allah protects you not by taking something away, but by never giving it in the first place. That person you thought was meant for you. Their absence might be your greatest blessing. That job you didn't get, maybe it would have led you away from your deen. That door that refused to open, maybe it was keeping you from walking into a storm. His silence is not cruelty, it's compassion that you just don't understand yet. Because we see the moment, but Allah sees the lifetime. We see what we want, but Allah sees what we need. And that difference changes everything. Think about how many times in life you were desperate for something. You prayed, you fasted, you cried. And when you didn't get it, you felt broken. But years later, you looked back and said, Alhamdulillah, I didn't get that. That's the beauty of divine protection. It doesn't make sense while it's happening. It only makes sense when the story unfolds. Allah's silence is the pause before He reveals the wisdom. And in that pause, He's not ignoring you. He's rearranging things for your good. And so He removes them one by one until the only thing left to hold on to is Him. That's mercy, not cruelty. Because when Allah wants to guide you, He doesn't always send signs. Sometimes He sends silence. A silence that echoes loud enough for your heart to hear. You've drifted. Come back to me. The most beautiful part is that when you finally return, you realize He was never truly silent. You just weren't listening. His guidance was there in every delay. His mercy was there in every no. His love was hidden in every unanswered prayer. You start to see how every hardship was actually Him pulling you back to something purer, softer, more sincere. You realize that maybe Allah didn't give you what you wanted because He wanted you. Not your words, not your rituals, not your half-hearted prayers. You fully, honestly, desperately, returning to Him with a heart that says, Ya Allah, I need you more than anything I was asking for. And the moment you return like that, everything changes. The silence no longer feels like distance. It feels like depth. You start to find peace, not in what you receive, but in who you've reconnected with. That's the lesson Allah's silence was always trying to teach you. That no matter how far you go, He'll always find a way to bring you back. And sometimes, the quietest moments are the loudest calls. The call of a Lord who misses hearing your voice. So the next time Allah stays silent, Don't rush to ask why. Instead, pause and ask yourself, what is he trying to bring me back to? Because maybe this silence isn't the end of communication. Maybe it's the beginning of real conversation. The one that happens when all else fades, and it's just you and Allah, heart to heart, soul to soul. No words, no noise, just love returning home. Sometimes Allah stays silent, not because He's forgotten you, but because He's preparing you for what you asked for. Because what you're praying for isn't small, it's heavy. It carries responsibility, tests, patience, and growth. And Allah in His wisdom won't give it to you until you're ready to hold it without it breaking you. His silence is not delay, it's development. It's the unseen training ground where your faith, discipline, and heart are being shaped to match the size of your dua. Because Allah doesn't just give blessings, He builds the person who can carry them. Think about this. Before Allah gave Yusuf the kingdom, He gave him a prison. Before He gave Musa leadership, He gave him exile. Before He gave Muhammad peace in Medina, He gave him rejection in Mecca. Rejection in Mecca. Every silence, every hardship, every unanswered prayer, it was never wasted. It was building them, shaping them, preparing them for the very thing they were praying for. And that's how Allah works with you too. The silence you hate today might be the reason you're strong enough to handle tomorrow. Sometimes you're praying for something beautiful, a dream, a change, a new chapter, but you're not yet the person who can sustain it. So Allah keeps you waiting, not to punish you, but to protect you from receiving too soon. Because blessings given before you're ready can become burdens. And Allah loves you too much to let your own dua destroy you. So He delays, He stays silent. He lets you grow through patience, heartbreak, and perseverance. Because every tear, every night of confusion, every moment of silence is Him sculpting you into someone capable of carrying what's coming. When you feel like nothing's moving, look closer. Because maybe you're the one who's moving. Maybe your heart is softening, your ego is shrinking, your faith is deepening. Maybe you're learning how to rely on Allah without needing instant results. That's preparation. Allah isn't only preparing the blessing, He's preparing you to meet it. And that takes time. You can't rush divine timing because divine timing isn't just about the blessing arriving. It's about your heart being ready to receive it with gratitude, not entitlement. The truth is, Allah's silence is often the pause between planting and blooming. You've made the dua, that's the seed. Now comes the silence, that's the soil. And while you see nothing happening, deep inside, roots are growing, foundations are forming, and your soul is learning what trust truly means. When the time is right, Allah doesn't just answer, He overwhelms you. He gives you more than you asked for, in ways you never imagined. But that only happens after you've been prepared through patience. So when you feel like your prayers are hitting the ceiling, remember, maybe Allah is working behind that silence, not against you, but for you. He's strengthening your spirit, cleansing your intentions, teaching you to value the gift before it arrives. Because sometimes the silence before the blessing is louder than the blessing itself. It's where the believer is reborn, patient, grounded, and ready. And when Allah finally breaks that silence, when the dua you thought was forgotten suddenly unfolds in front of you, you'll understand. You'll realize that the wait wasn't wasted. It was wisdom. You'll see how every unanswered prayer, every quiet night, every tear that fell in frustration was actually an ingredient in your preparation. Because Allah never delays without purpose. Every second of His silence was Him saying, I'm not denying you. I'm designing you, so hold on. Don't mistake His stillness for neglect. It's not that He's ignoring your voice. It's that He's strengthening it. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. And when the silence finally ends, you'll look back and say, if I had gotten it any sooner, I wouldn't have been ready. Because Allah's silence was never empty. It was full of love, patience, and purpose, all leading you to the moment when His timing meets your readiness. Maybe Allah's silence was never silence at all. Maybe it was His way of speaking in a language your heart hadn't learned to understand yet. Maybe all along He's been answering you, just not with words, but with wisdom. Not with signs, but with stillness. Because sometimes the most powerful answers come when nothing seems to happen, and yet deep inside everything starts to change. You stop fighting. You stop demanding. You start trusting. And that's when you realize silence was never a delay. It was dialogue. The kind that happens between the Creator and His servant when words fall short and faith begins to speak. There's something sacred about those moments when you think Allah isn't responding. Because that's when your heart reveals who it truly belongs to. Will it give up when it doesn't get what it wants? Or will it keep believing simply because it knows who it's believing in? Every unanswered dua, every quiet night, every tear shed in the dark, they're not wasted, they're recorded. They're heard. They're part of a plan so precise that even your waiting has meaning. Allah's silence isn't neglect, it's nurture. He's watering your patience, shaping your character, deepening your trust, preparing you for blessings that only mature hearts can carry. You might not see it now, but every no, every not yet, every await is Allah building a story that will one day make sense. Because there will come a time when you look back and realize the silence that once scared you was the very thing that strengthened you. The loneliness that once broke you was the very thing that brought you closer. And the unanswered prayers that once confused you were the very prayers that saved you. Every pause, every delay, every quiet moment, it was part of the same answer all along. I am here. I never left. The truth is, we often hear silence as emptiness. But in the realm of faith, silence is full of mercy, full of protection, full of unseen answers unfolding in their own time. Allah's silence isn't Him turning away. It's Him drawing you near. Because when He withholds what you want, He's often giving you what you need. A heart that knows how to be still, how to trust, how to say Alhamdulillah even when there's no sign of change. That kind of heart can't be built in comfort. It's built in silence. So maybe the real question isn't why is Allah silent? Maybe the real question is, what is He teaching me through this silence? Maybe He's teaching you patience that doesn't break, faith that doesn't depend on outcomes, love that doesn't fade with delay. Maybe He's teaching you how to walk by faith, not by sight. How to rely on the unseen when everything visible falls apart. Because when you finally stop searching for answers outside, you'll start finding them inside, in your heart, where Allah has been speaking all along. You might not get everything you ask for, but you'll always get what's written for you. And what's written for you will never miss you. That's why you can rest, even when it's silent. Because silence doesn't mean Allah isn't working. It means He's working in ways you can't see yet. He's rearranging your destiny, aligning the right people, preparing the right doors, softening your heart. And when the time is right, everything will unfold perfectly, beautifully, effortlessly. And you'll say, and now I understand why He made me wait. So until that day comes, hold your heart still in His silence. Keep praying, keep believing, keep whispering Ya Allah even when the world is quiet. Because that whisper carries weight in the heavens. And maybe, just maybe, Allah's silence isn't a lack of response. Maybe it's His way of saying, stay close, I'm still here. And when it's time, you'll see that I was never silent. I was preparing your miracle. Because in the end, silence isn't the absence of Allah. It's the space where He builds the strongest connection with those who refuse to stop believing.